Hi, I'm Doug Donnelly. Welcome to Cecil TV. Um, Today we have a special guest all the way from Hyde Park, New York, and that man is Joe Louis Walker. And I first have to say that the blues is the basis for nearly every form of American popular music over the past 100 years. Jazz, R&B, rock, hip hop, all derive their tonal origins from the blues. But the blues itself has evolved into a variety of styles tied to their geography and its practitioners' unique styles. Few people embody this versatility better than our guest today, Joe Louis Walker. Joe will be at Elkton Music Hall this Friday evening. Good afternoon, Joe,
Good afternoon, Doug.
and welcome.
It's
So,
good to be with
so we have a few questions. You grew up in San Francisco and started playing guitar at a very young age. When did you know that life as a musician was the path that you would take?
you. Well, to be quite honest, it was a dream, like it is with most musicians. You might hear something or you might see somebody playing something or something on the TV, and you have this dream that you can do it too. And so I had that dream from a young age because my dad would play his records, and my mom would play her records, and my older sisters and brothers, and I always, when I had a dream of myself, being able to produce that sound, and it didn't become a reality for me until my parents split up for a while, and we moved to the Fillmore district, which was then, they call it the Harlem of the West. And you could go down Fillmore Street and see Louis Armstrong at the Blue Mirror. You could see Duke Ellington um, and Jimbo's Bop City. You could see Richard Groove Holmes at Jack's. You could see the Real Temptations with Eddie Kendricks and David Ruffin at the real film auditorium. Or you could see Little Richard at the film auditorium. Or you could see James Brown before he got a brand new bag. And then I won't call it gentrification, but then you had a lot of young people moving in who wanted to leave the cold weather, who wanted to leave old ways of thinking, and these were a lot of young people from New York and different places, but they weren't from our neighborhood.
So
They came.
we're talking around gentrification probably started happening like around 65, 66.
You got it, but this when most of the musician free spirits moved into the neighborhood, that was about 64. About mid to late 64, and I think they had the first free hippie concert at the Film Auditorium after the gentleman who owned it, Charles Sullivan, who was Bill Graham's mentor, an older African American gentleman who had brought everybody to the Fillmore, and he would let us youngsters have our battle of the bands there also for free, and he charged 25 cents, and the place would be packed. And some of them youngsters grew up to be pretty well known people like Freddie Stewart, him and his brother Sylvester. But Freddie had his own group, and his brother Sylvester ended up having you taking Freddie's group and calling it Sly and the Family Stone. Well, we all played the film auditorium way before the Who played there. Jimi Hendrix played there with his trio. Jimmy played there as part of Little Richard's gospel group, but that was when he was on the circuit.
So uh, so at some point the I guess the neighborhood sort of changed. The hippies came in, and and there was they started. I guess there was a a birth of their own style of music. So the the how did you relate to the psychedelic rock and etc. of like the Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead and Quicksilver Messenger Service and all of those bands at the time?
Well, I related good to all those guys because I'd see them at all the free concerts in the park. They come to all the black clubs because they wanted to learn how to play, and so when you talk about the Grateful Dead, well, the first time I seen Lightning Hopkins, Bobby Will was backing him up, and Lightning changed when there's that famous story of Lightning, ZZ Top backing Lightning Hopkins, and he heard the bass player say, "Lightning change all the time," and then he didn't know Lightning was there. Lightning tapped him on the shoulder and say, "Lightning change when Lightning want to change." That was good experience, So I think Bobby, when I asked Bobby about it, he said, just to be honest, if you want to know the real get down, he said, I said, what did he say to you, Bobby? He said, "Play, white boy, play." And Bobby said, "Joe, I don't know what the hell I was playing, but evidently Lightning like him enough to get it. Play, white boy." And so that's the kind of mixture that you had. And when you have that type of mixture, you have, I think, what music is meant to be. It's meant to be a understanding, but it's a learning curve. And to learn to play real music, you have to give something. And the number one thing you got to give is your ego. Okay? And so when I seen Little Walter, not at the Fillmore, at the Longshoremen's Hall, that's where I seen the Dead and Bo Diddley. The Dead was back in Little Walter. Now this is the same Little Walter you talking playing on all the Muddy Water records. Well, they'd bring the guys out there, and sometimes they'd have a band, sometimes they wouldn't. Sometimes they'd have one musician with them, and then they fill them on out. Well, when I seen the Dead with Little Walter, Lil Walter insisted on having his guitar player, a guy named Luther Tucker. And Luther was with Walter then. But Luther liked it so much out there, he did what a lot of Chicago and musicians from other places did. He stayed. He didn't get on the next train back to Chicago to get his clothes. He didn't get on the next plane. He just stayed. And when he stayed, he moved to Marin County. He started playing with Charlie Musselwhite, who had been out there for a while. And Charlie had and then a lot of guys did that. So Charlie ended up having one of the best bands going. When he had Luther Tucker in the band, you got some serious musicians going. So I think that for the most part, for me, I learned how to, I thank whoever it is to thank that I grew up where I grew up, when I grew up, because we didn't have no part of San Francisco that you couldn't go to. Like, oh, they're gonna get you over on that. It wasn't like that. Of course there was hassles and things like that, but it wasn't. And the music was wide open. And so that's why you have groups so diverse as the first really mixed group to make a big splash, Sly and the Family Stone. That's why you have the first Hispanic rock group, Carlos Santana.
Right.
Well, I know them all. We all went to school together. We all played the same halls. Wasn't nobody professional except for Sly, because Sly went to music school and graduated in 2 years. And he was a DJ at the same time.
There's a new film
While he was
out.
DJing, he was producing groups like the Gollywogs, who were really known as Creedence Clearwater. So you take someone like Sly, who was playing a lot of soul music, don't get it wrong, but Sly could also produce. He produced the Bull Brummels record, Laugh, Laugh, I Thought I'd Die. He produced, that was the number 1 hit. Sly produced that. And he produced the other song by Bobby Freeman, Coming from the Ghetto. Come on, everybody, come on in. Bobby's going to show you how to do the swim. Not only did Sly produce it, he played every instrument on that song.
Are you aware that Questlove has just completed a film about Sly?
I'm very interested into seeing that film that Quest has about Sly, because I have a personal feeling that there are some people, it's like Crazy Horse wouldn't let people take his picture because I think he thought that that picture would steal his soul. Mm-hmm. Well, I have a feeling that a film can misrepresent a person's soul.
Right.
Some people are not meant to be categorized, and you know,
just too complex.
Just too complex.
And he is a complex person. Ooh. Apparently, he's extremely happy now. He's in his 80s, and he's got his grandkids and.
Yeah, but you happy now that you ain't got that, all that stuff you worked for.
Right.
You find out, it's like Shakespeare. You find out what you wanted, what you wanted, you really didn't do you any good. Almost killed you.
Right.
And Sly's lucky. He's still alive.
Yeah. You're right.
Now, I don't mean it in a negative way. I'm glad he's alive, but look at the guys. A lot of the guys he played on, especially Bobby Womack. Him and Bobby Womack made some of the greatest records. Oh my goodness, a woman's got to have it. That's the way I feel about you. And they didn't even credit each other on each other's record. They was having so much fun in the studio. Both of them were so prolific. They just recorded and recorded.
So, changing gears a little, back to you. In your playing and your songs, you embrace many forms of American roots music. Do you think this versatility helps you attract younger audiences to the blues?
Well, I think it helps me attract younger audiences that are, the word I'm looking for, inquisitive. And the reason that I play the way that I play is because when I was young, I was inquisitive. And so for me to grow up and to be on the bill with Thelonious Monk, I got an education that I didn't know I was getting at the time. Well, I know a lot of the young guys now that would love to be on a bill with Thelonious Monk, but now they can be on a bill now with Archie Shepp. Archie Shepp's still alive. He ain't playing as much as he played when he was playing with Coltrane and them. But you have a lot of young people that know the value of the history and the versatility of it, and you just can't. We have a saying, some people get their dues paid for them. Others they pay their dues. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to say that the ones that paid their dues are usually the ones that are the giants.
Very interesting. So we're almost out of time here. There's so many things I could talk to you about, like that I believe you've met 2 different presidents of the United States, or you were on an inauguration ceremony or a Kennedy Center induction or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I was part of the Willie Dixon Dream Band, and so we played for a lot of people. But I was we played, me and Willie and Coco Taylor and Ronnie Wood and Lafayette Leak, Billy Preston, a bunch of, we played the H.W. Bush uh, um, Freedom for Young America, I think the name of the concert is, because we made sure that it was bipartisan. Uh, but the thing is that the other one, the one that I did for BB, when BB was inducted into the Kennedy Center Honors, that was a great thing because, of course, it's BB, but then they spend a nice time talking about the artist that's inducted, and people bring people who BB, who you don't know are going to be brought there, and they still tell stories about it. So I've always had a good relationship with BB, and I just both experiences were quite quite a life, something you only have once in a lifetime, because the thing that we did for H.W. Bush, not George Jr., was because the chairman of the Republican Party at the time, a guy named Lee Atwater, he wanted to be a musician, but he knew all about the blues, all about rock, all about. So he had everybody he could think of, but he let it be known that we weren't endorsing, and we let it be known to him we wasn't endorsing nothing, And I got a funny story I'll tell you about that. And they can't do nothing to me now because I'm older. Is that we were doing one of the songs, I think, the Run Through, and the band was me and Willie and Ronnie and Coco and Albert Collins, and the director Ken Ehrlich, or either one of his minions, started screaming, "Stop the filming! Stop the filming!" And you'd have thought, that it was World War III. And they stopped the filming, and they all started gathering around Willie. And Willie said, "What's wrong, fellas?" And they said, "Well, you got a Jesse Jackson for President button on your coat." And Willie did that on purpose. And what he said was, he said, "Oh, my grandkids, they put all kind of stuff on me. I don't know. I just, So they had to reshoot that whole part, and they took the Jesse Jackson for President button. But you know what? That button ended up somewhere else on somebody else. It should have ended up. And I can't say anything about that. But it wasn't on a Democrat. I'll put it like that. It ended up on somebody else. So it just goes to show that you see some strange things.
Yes. Yes. So, final question. Bringing us right up to the present to this weekend. What will your lineup? What's the lineup of your band going to be at the Elkton Music Hall?
Well, I got a good group of guys. We made a record a while back called "Weight of the World," and the reason I did, a young man named Eric Korn wanted me to do it, and Eric's known for he produced all the Walter Trout's records, but he worked with John Mayall till the end, and that's how I got to be somewhat of a confidant of his, because I've known John since I was a teenager, about 17, 18, when he used to come and play the Film Auditorium and Avalon Ballroom and come to Bloomfield's house where I used to live. To make a long story short, we have, let's see, how I could put it. I was part of this. If I'm thinking of the correct thing, tell me what what that question was again.
The question was your lineup for the weekend, honey.
For the weekend. Yeah, well, these young men that I've got to know here in Boston, they played all over also. And I know some from Boston, some from New York City. And they're just the keyboard player is not only a musician, he teaches choral choir for youngsters, which I love. You know, I grew up in the choir and stuff. And his name's Scott Malici, and the bass player Jeffrey Murphy, and we have John Medeiros Jr. But we all sang together. But I guess the most amazing thing about the record is that I was approached and said, "Hey man, let's write all brand new material." So the producer Eric Cohen, he says, "I know, you know, you got 30-something albums of your own and all the ones that you played on with people." He would say, "But you know, I believe you know you should just come up with some all new stuff." You know, and he says, "I'll write a few things, you know." And I said, "Well, you know, that means I got to rehearse the band and all songs that they've never heard. In fact, I got to rehearse me on all songs I ain't never heard, because some I ain't written yet. But I do have ideas. I keep ideas floating in my head. Most musicians do." And to make a long story short, you know, we were able to come up with some things that people seem to like it. You know, they liked it on Sirius XM. It was, I think, was on the #1 chart up there and all over different places. So I was very proud, you know, of the album, and I was extremely thankful that Eric Cohen pushed me to write along with him an album of all new material, and to have the musicians. I call the musicians the Weight of the World Band, because the name of the #1, the song is called The Weight of the World, because we had the weight of the world. We literally playing songs we never played before. We never worked out harmonies. We didn't bring any harmony singers in or any background. We came up with the whole thing ourselves, and I'm very proud to see the response that album got. So now we're out here promoting another set of things that we're doing. It's a Joe Louis Walker reimagined, and what it is some of the older songs that I did 35 years ago. Things I'm reimagining some of it. I'm bringing guests on, but some I'm not so much in the guest thing right now. But we reimagined them in a different way, because back in 1985, 86, when I recut a lot of these albums, we didn't have a budget. We all slept on the floor. You know what I'm saying? We had to make the most of what we could do, and we did a pretty good job, you know. But you know, it would be nice to be able to have a horn section, you know, when you wanted a horn section, instead of being able to say, well, that's not in the budget, you know. So now we have the horn section and some of the things. So we look forward to being able to do that album. As part of that album, the new album is called Cold as the Night, and some of the songs from there, and to be able to carry on from there.
Well, that's about all the time we have, but
oh no, I got to stay here for another hour, Doug. All the we went through to get on this show.
There is. I mean, I could any button I could push on your past. There are stories, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, everyone should know that Joe Louis Walker is going to be at Elkton Music Hall. Is it Friday or Saturday? Friday. Yes, it's Friday.
Friday, and if you don't mind me saying, Saturday, we're going to be at another one of my favorite places, Sellersville Theater. Sellersville Theater, which in Sellersville, Pennsylvania, which is just a beautiful old theater.
Right.
So to be able to play those two great places back to back. It's just going to be a gas.
Right.
It'll be fun.
Well, it's great to have you in our area, and
Let's,
I hope to make it there this Friday to Elkton.
well,
So
you know what? Let's do this again sometime.
sure, this was great, and it's great
Yeah.
talking to you. Thank you, Joe, and we'll be back.
Well, thank you.